At 10,000 meters high, a man jumped without any protection. If he landed at the target spot, he would win 3 billion. People around the world watched the live broadcast. However, he failed. The man didn't disappear. He woke up in hell. Death wouldn't let him die easily and forced him into a death game. His soul would enter the bodies of 12 dying people and experience 12 different deaths. 7 years ago, on his way to an interview, Yee-jae witnessed a terrible car crash. A life disappeared right before his eyes. Yee-jae panicked and performed badly in the interview, losing a good job offer. To repay his loans, he had to work odd jobs and kept sending resumes. After 7 years of hard work, he finally made it to the final interview at Taikang Group. This time, Yee-jae was well prepared and impressed the interviewers. While he was still excited, he got bad news. A friend got involved in a scam to manipulate the market and lost all of Yee-jae's money. Yee-jae went to confront his friend but found he had already disappeared. He tried to break into the house and ended up at the police station. The police said investing was a risk, and under Korean law, the loss was not fraud. This meant he could not get back any of his money. Yee-jae wanted to find comfort from his girlfriend but saw a rich man driving her home. Even though she explained, Yee-jae still thought she had a new boyfriend. He refused her help and broke up with her. Yee-jae went back to his apartment, only to find all his stuff thrown out. He owed 3 months' rent, and the landlord told him to move out in 2 days. At the same time, Taikang Group sent a message saying he failed the interview. Yee-jae completely broke down. He saw no hope in himself, so he decided to stop struggling to survive. When Yee-jae opened his eyes again, he was on a luxury plane, with a new face. A strange woman beside him was reading his will. Before Yee-jae could understand, she burned the will and took off her sunglasses, revealing red eyes. The next moment, they entered a terrifying dimension. The woman called herself Death, an immortal being. Yee-jae was supposed to go to hell, but in his will, he treated death as a means of ending the pain he was in. Death felt insulted and decided to punish him. Yee-jae was thrown into a dark abyss and then woke up back on the plane. From now on, his soul would enter 12 dying bodies, inherit their memories and abilities. If he could avoid the death in one of those bodies, he would live the rest of his life in that body. Yee-jae thought living was worse than death, but he had no right to refuse. The battle between human and God, life and death, had begun. The plane suddenly shook hard. Yee-jae instinctively put on a life vest and braced himself in the safety position. But it was only turbulence, and the plane soon became stable. After calming down, Yee-jae looked around with curiosity and saw the cabin full of fine wine and luxury goods. At that moment, a memory orb entered Yee-jae's brain. He found out that the first man he possessed was named Park Jin-tae, the second son of Taekong Group's boss. Park Jin-tae was born into a rich family and was raised to take over the company. This perfect life was exactly what Yee-jae had always dreamed of. He decided to use this body to experience the world of the rich. While Yee-jae was feeling proud, the engine caught fire and the body broke apart fast. He quickly fastened his seatbelt, but the fire still swallowed him. The pain of burning stayed. Death calmly loaded a bullet. Each bullet meant one chance. If Yee-jae failed to survive until the end, he would be sent to hell. Yee-jae was frightened by the terrifying scene and cried loudly. He feared living and feared hell even more. Death reminded him that if he saved one of the bodies from dying, he could take control of it and live with a new identity. Hearing this, Yee-jae decided to survive no matter what. In a rush, his second rebirth began. When he opened his eyes, he was falling fast from the sky. The worst part was, he had no parachute. Soon, another memory orb appeared. The second body's owner was Song Jae-seop, a man who loved extreme sports. This time, he was trying to jump from the sky without a parachute and land right onto a safety net. If he succeeded, he would win 3 billion. The huge prize pushed Yee-jae to fight his fear. He used Song Jae-seop's abilities to adjust his balance, then aimed at the net and fell straight down. Many media outlets streamed the challenge live. TV ratings went way up. Yee-jae rushed toward the 3 billion prize, excited. However, he was just one step away from success. Facing death again, Yee-jae angrily asked why she lied. Both rebirths had led to sure death. Death firmly said there was always a way to survive, but he had to find it himself. Then Death raised the stakes. She said Yee-jae had committed a huge crime in his past life. In the next 10 rebirths, he must find out what that sin was. If not, even if he survived, he would still go to hell. Yee-jae felt deep pain and anger. Before he could complain, he entered his 3rd rebirth. This time, Yee-jae became a 17-year-old high school boy. Hyuk-soo grew up with only his mother, who worked tirelessly day and night to support him. Seeing her work so hard, Hyuk-soo wanted to study harder, but he hated going to school. Jin-sung and his guys always bullied and blackmailed him. Hyuk-soo did not dare to tell his mother, afraid to make her worry more. In the end, he could not take the pain and decided to end his life. After learning this sad story, Yee-jae felt full of anger. When Jin-sung bullied him again, Yee-jae chose to fight back and sought justice for the boy. At that moment, a strong boy named Tae-seok appeared and quickly overpowered Yee-jae. Yee-jae realized he couldn't match Tae-seok's size and even faced worse revenge. So he decided to outsmart them. After observing, Yee-jae noticed Tae-seok was often bullied by Jin-sung and felt deeply resentful. He seized the chance to secretly stir things up between them. Tae-seok let his guard down and revealed a secret. Jin-sang was actually a moron, but he had strong backing from the toughest senior in this whole area. Tae-seok didn't dare offend the senior and had to compromise by serving Jin-sung. After learning the truth, Yee-jae devised a brilliant plan. He instructed Tae-seok not to interfere, no matter what happened. The next day, Yee-jae deliberately provoked Jin-sang, causing everyone to burst into laughter. Jin-sang lost face in front of his beloved girl and hurried to ask the senior for help. The senior arrived with his followers, only to find that the troublemaker was the weak Yee-jae. The senior didn't expect to be summoned by Jin-sung to deal with such a wimp. He felt humiliated and cut ties with Jin-sung. With no protector, Jin-sung was beaten by his former follower, and even his crush was taken by the senior. Jin-sung blamed Yee-jae for everything. In a fit of madness, he ultimately ended Yee-jae's life. Yee-jae was furious, cursing Jin-sung as lunatic and regretting not punishing him more severely. Death watched coldly from the side, finding his painful struggle very amusing. Before the 4th rebirth began, Death warned Yee-jae not to try to kill himself, or he'd come to face a pain worse than hell itself. As soon as she finished speaking, Yee-jae fell into darkness, unable to move. After the hood was taken off, he saw he was surrounded by men in black. As danger came close, the memory orb appeared. The man's name was Lee Joo-hun, a skilled killer working for a mafia organization. Not long ago, Lee Joo-hun fell in love with the boss's woman. He couldn't stand seeing her suffer, so he stole 10 billion from the boss's secret slush fund and planned to escape with her. But the boss soon found out the plan. After reading this memory, Yee-jae quickly fought the gang members and easily defeated them all. After calming down, Yee-jae carefully considered the situation. He decided to find the 10 billion hidden by Lee Joo-hun. That way, even if he became someone else, he could use the money to live a perfect life. Yee-jae rode a motorcycle, skillfully weaving through traffic. Upon hearing the news, the boss immediately offered a 2 billion bounty for Yee-jae's life. For the huge reward, even the police began to hunt Yee-jae. Yee-jae used his superb driving skills to escape the pursuit. He quickly followed his memory to the agreed meeting place with the woman. Feeling the man's sincerity, Yee-jae told the woman the hiding place of the huge sum without any defense. The next second, the woman's eyes turned cold, and she raised a gun, ending Yee-jae's 4th life. Seeing Yee-jae fail again by trusting the wrong person, Death couldn't help but laugh. Learning that the woman killed him for money, Yee-jae was furious, but also felt a bit pleased inside. The 10 billion was not hidden on the fishing boat, so Yee-jae couldn't wait to enter his 5th rebirth and find the real hiding place. But he was shocked to find himself in prison, now a prisoner. Yee-jae heard he would be released in 4 days. But danger was everywhere inside the small cell. Yee-jae learned of the first danger from his cellmate, Kim Ji-young. There was a psychopathic murderer in the cell. To his surprise, it was Jin Sang, the bully who ended his third life. Yee-jae was full of rage and hit him. Others stopped him and warned him that he would end up in trouble. While Yee-jae felt confused, the memory orb appeared. The body's name was Choi Yee-jae, 21 years old. He dreamed of becoming an MMA fighter since childhood, but his family was poor and deep in debt. 2 years ago, he took the blame for a hit and run to earn money. The lawyer promised him 200 million won if he confessed at the police station. Since he was underage, he would only get probation and be released soon. But during the trial, the victim died. In the end, Choi Yee-jae got 2 years in prison. His dream of becoming a fighter was over. During a meeting, he asked the lawyer for an extra 1 billion won. If not, he would reveal the truth after getting out. Back in the present, Yee-jae looked at Jin Sang and realized he was pretending to be a psychopathic killer to protect himself. So Yee-jae exposed his lies and told everyone Ho Jin Sang used to bully his classmates. Jin Sang got the punishment he deserved and lost all respect. Yee-jae stayed out of trouble and waited for his release day. However, the lawyer bribed other prisoners to kill Yee-jae. Yee-jae used Choi Yee-jae's fighting skills to beat them all. That night, Jin Sang tried to attack him but got caught. Yee-jae wanted to kill him but didn't want to ruin a new life for such trash. So he lied, saying he could see dead people and Hyoksu's soul was nearby. Jin Sang was shocked this stranger knew his past. Yee-jae said Hyoksu would haunt him forever until the day he died. These words broke Jin Sang completely. For the rest of his life, he would live in fear. On the day of release, the lawyer brought 1 billion won as promised. Yee-jae refused the money and said he would live a good life and take the secret to the grave. Then he rushed to find the hidden cash he had hidden when he was reborn as a killer. Following the address in his mind, he found the 10 billion. He was thrilled, but also a little lost. He didn't know what to do with all that money. Just then, Choi Yee-jae's mother called. Hearing her gentle voice, Yee-jae thought of his own mother. He had ended his life so easily, but left his mother in deep pain. Now, he was living in this body, which meant Choi Yee-jae's mother would never see her real son again. Feeling guilty, Yee-jae split the cash in two. He left one part in a subway locker and returned to Choi Yee-jae's home with the other part. As Yee-jae entered a dark alley, someone followed and stabbed him without a word. The attacker was the victim's father. His daughter had died at 20, but the killer was only sentenced to 2 years. The father waited years for Choi Yee-jae's release just to get revenge. Yee-jae understood his pain and, holding his wound, told him the truth. Just then, someone walked toward them. The man panicked and ran. It was Kim Ji-young, Choi Yee-jae's follower from prison. He pretended to care, then stabbed Yee-jae with a knife. Kim Ji-young had also been bribed by the lawyer and was waiting for the right moment. Now, for just 100 million, he ruthlessly betrayed Yee-jae. At that moment, Choi Yee-jae's mother called, but Yee-jae could no longer answer. He woke up in the dark dimension, feeling frustrated. He had been so close to success, but death said he was doomed to fail, because he was a selfish brat who failed to think about the sadness the bereaved had to go through. Yee-jae had no time to argue with her. He had to get the money from the locker. Seeing him so eager, Death smirked. A gunshot rang out, and Yee-jae broke again. For the 6th time, he became a newborn baby. Yee-jae cried loudly because he couldn't get his 10 billion back. But no one understood his sadness. His mother said sorry as she carried him out of the cafe. In the car, the gentle mother suddenly got angry. She couldn't even enjoy a cup of coffee because of her baby. Back home, things got worse. The kind-looking father was actually feeding Yee-jae expired food. Both parents showed no sense of responsibility. Then the police arrived with Child Protective Services due to a report of child abuse. But the couple pretended well. Ironically, the father even worked in child welfare. After seeing happy family photos, the police dropped their suspicion. Yee-jae cried loudly, trying to get help, but could only watch them leave. Seeing the mother rush over in anger, Yee-jae knew his end was near. He returned to death once again. Yee-jae felt sad. He couldn't understand how such parents could exist. Death told him no one was guaranteed anything in life. He had just been taking everything for granted. Yee-jae didn't care for life and chose death so flippantly, but that baby didn't even get to make a choice. Yee-jae didn't want to hear Death's endless words. He still thought about the huge sum of money. Death pulled the trigger again, sending him to a new life. Yee-jae didn't have time to confirm his new identity and hurried to the subway station. He got his package from the locker just before it was cleared. After a sigh of relief, Yee-jae looked carefully at his new face. At that moment, the memory orb arrived. The man's name was Jang Gaeon-woo. He was 24 years old. Because of his good looks, girls liked him since he was young. Later, he became a model and started living a rich and flashy life early on. Back home, Yee-jae read in the newspaper that the baby's parents were caught. He felt happy inside. Then, Jang Gaeon-woo's friend called and invited him to a VIP party. Yee-jae thought it was better to relax than worry about dying. He only had a few drinks and already felt drunk. The friend told him that if he could impress the host of tonight's party, he might end up modeling for Taikang Group. Yee-jae thought the man in front of him looked familiar. He was the interviewer from before. His name was Park Tae-woo. He was the oldest son of Taikang Group's owner. After his younger brother died in a plane crash, he became the new heir. Yee-jae got very drunk and couldn't speak clearly. When he woke up, it was the next morning. Jang Gaeon-woo's brother had to go to the US for a week. Yee-jae was asked to look after the coffee shop. He planned to work for just one day, but didn't expect to meet his ex-girlfriend, Jisoo. As she walked closer, Yee-jae remembered the sweet past. At college, Jisoo's papers flew away in the wind and landed near his feet. Yee-jae picked them up and saw her sweet smile. In that moment, he fell in love. Seeing her again made his heart race. Jang Gaeon-woo's brother said Jisoo was now a writer and came to the cafe almost every day to work. Not long ago, she turned her and Yee-jae's love story into a novel and won the Daily Writers Contest. The day they broke up, Jisoo wanted to share the good news, but Yee-jae misunderstood and thought it was pity from her. Through her book, Yee-jae realized he had hurt the girl who truly loved him. He once promised Jisoo that no matter what, he would never let go of her hand, but he broke that promise because of his inferiority complex. The man who took Jisoo home that day was actually her brother. Realizing Jisoo never betrayed him, Yee-jae felt deep guilt and regret. From that day on, he went to the cafe every day to wait for Jisoo and gave her free cake. Seeing her confused face, Yee-jae said he was her fan and wanted to write a novel too. He then shared his story of rebirth with her under the pretense of a fictional story. Jisoo was interested in the story, and they became closer. Before she left, Yee-jae asked her for an autograph. When she pulled out her pen, he froze. Years ago, he secretly bought the pen Jisoo liked, but never had the chance to give it to her. After his death, his mom found the pen and gave it to Jisoo. After this talk, they became friends. Yee-jae waited every day for Jisoo and shared each of his deaths with her. That night, soon after Jisoo left the cafe, it suddenly started to rain. Yee-jae ran after her and gave her his umbrella. As he returned to the cafe, he saw police cars rushing by. A guest said a girl who often came to the cafe had a car accident. Yee-jae panicked and ran to the scene, spotting the familiar umbrella. He screamed in despair, but calmed down when he saw Jisoo safe in the crowd. Yee-jae couldn't reveal his true identity, so he lied, saying he thought it was someone he knew. Jisoo understood how that felt. When she heard Yee-jae had died, she rushed to the hospital and sat crying on the floor. Even now, she couldn't forget that pain. Early the next morning, Jisoo stood by Yee-jae's memorial and told him how much she missed him. She always blamed herself for not keeping him from leaving that day. Yee-jae watched from far away, feeling deep guilt. After Jisoo left, he walked over and looked at the photo with his mother. Suddenly, his mother's voice came from behind. Yee-jae held back his tears and quickly walked away. His mother wiped the glass, then ran to the restroom, where she cried loudly inside. At that moment, Yee-jae regretted giving up his life so easily and causing his beloved mother so much pain. Now, the only thing he could do was leave her the rest of his 5 billion won in cash. The next night, after sharing another story with Jisoo, Yee-jae decided to walk her home. On the way, he realized that even uneventful days like walking hand in hand with Jisoo were enough reason to go on. Yee-jae gathered courage and confessed the truth. He used to have a girlfriend whom he dated for 7 years. During that time, he never showed her his best self. One day, Jisoo had dinner at a bar with her co-workers. Her boss tried to set her up with a boyfriend. Yee-jae, working part-time there, felt ashamed of himself. But Jisoo proudly told everyone that Yee-jae was her boyfriend. Yee-jae kept saying sorry for misunderstanding her and told her to live a good life. His words confused Jisoo. He no longer hid the truth, admitting he was Yee-jae, the protagonist who kept dying in the story. Suddenly, a car sped by and hit them. Jisoo died instantly. Yee-jae was badly hurt. The driver got out. It was Park Tae-woo. Yee-jae suddenly remembered Park Tae-woo was also in the memories of Park Jin-tae, Song Jae-seop, Lee Joo-hoon, and Cho Tae-sang. It seemed all the deaths were caused by Park Tae-woo. Just then, Park Tae-woo smiled wickedly. He put on gloves and sent Yee-jae back to hell. Yee-jae helplessly pounded the ground, angry at Death for playing with him. He grabbed a weapon and shot at Death, trying to make her feel pain. But when he tried to enter his next rebirth, the gun malfunctioned. Suddenly, Death stood in front of him, unharmed. The only thing that can't die in this world is death itself. Yee-jae broke down and asked why she had Jisoo die. Death calmly said Jisoo was always meant to die that day. The only thing that changed was she met Jang Gaeon-woo, who died with her. This meant both Jisoo and Jang Gaeon-woo were fated to die by Park Tae-woo's hand. Yee-jae begged Death to start the next rebirth. He wanted revenge for Jisoo. Death warned him if he tried to take someone's life, she would intervene. This time, Yee-jae became a painter. His studio felt dark and creepy, and strange paintings covered the red walls. Just as he started to look around, a memory orb emerged from the red liquid. The painter was named Jong-gyu Cheol. He had great talent, but was never recognized. One day, on his way home, he encountered a woman who had fallen from a building. He gained inspiration from her death and painted the scene, which surprisingly received great praise. After that, Jong-gyu Cheol began hunting for victims. He soaked his canvas in blood to create terrifying artwork. After reading the serial killer's memories, Yee-jae was horrified and started gagging. However, to avenge Jisoo, Yee-jae came up with a plan. He decided to use a demon to kill another demon. The next day, he went to the car accident site and found Jisoo's lost pen in the sewer. On the day of the accident, Park Tae-woo hit pedestrians due to drug use. To keep his position as heir, he made his lawyer take the blame. If the lawyer went to jail, Park Tae-woo promised a big reward and a job promotion. Hearing that, the lawyer threw the dashcam memory card into the sewer, then called the police and turned himself in. Park Tae-woo threw away Jisoo's pen and mocked her, saying she looked like a marionette. Thinking of this, Yee-jae grabbed a weapon and went to Taekong Group, but suddenly fainted. The doctor told him he had a brain tumor and only 1 month left to live. Yee-jae wasn't afraid at all. He even smiled. 1 month was enough to get justice for Jisoo. As he left the hospital, he got a call from a gallery staff member. Park Tae-woo wanted to buy one of Jong-gyu Cheol's not-for-sale paintings for a high price. Yee-jae immediately went to the gallery to meet Park Tae-woo. Just as he was about to strike, the secretary appeared and reminded Park Tae-woo of a meeting. Yee-jae missed his chance, so he agreed to sell the painting. He asked for Park Tae-woo's address and said he would deliver it himself. Park Tae-woo liked those creepy paintings because he was a real devil too. As a child, he nearly ended a crying baby's life. His younger brother, Park Jin-tae, saw this and threatened to make him give up the heir position. Angry, Park Tae-woo planned a plane crash to silence his brother. But their father had already started secretly investigating Park Tae-woo and believed he might be a sociopath. The father even ordered a personality test seminar in the company just to test Park Tae-woo. Park Tae-woo Furious, took pills and sped down the road, stopping only at a roadblock. The on-duty police officers quickly approached to check on him. Detective Wu noticed something was off and decided to take him to the station. Park Tae-yu immediately called the police chief and ended the matter easily. Then he beat up Detective Wu to release his anger and threw a stack of cash for medical bills. Detective An stood nearby, watching his partner being insulted, but said nothing. When Park Tae-yu got home, he was shocked to see Yee-jae waiting at his door. Yee-jae not only stepped on his luxury car to clean his shoes, but also spat on his head. Park Tae-yu tried to fight back, but quickly realized he was no match. He pulled out a gun from his car, but Yee-jae was ready. He was wearing a bulletproof vest. He tied Park Tae-yu to the car and drove to the creepy art studio. Yee-jae calmly said the owner of this body had killed 15 people, and Park Tae-yu would be next. He vividly described the whole killing process, making Park Tae-yu shake in fear. But once inside the studio, things suddenly changed. Yee-jae collapsed from a sudden illness. When he woke up, he was tied to a workbench. Park Tae-yu looked pleased with this secret playground. Looking at terrified Yee-jae, he excitedly talked about his killing history. 7 years ago, Park Tae-yu accidentally hit a man with his car. Coincidentally, this accident happened on the day Yee-jae had his interview. Seeing the victim beg for his life gave Park Tae-yu a strange thrill he never forgot. After that, no matter how many people he ran over on purpose, he couldn't feel that thrill again. After telling the story, Park Tae-yu picked up a chainsaw and walked toward Yee-jae with a crazed smile. Just like that, Yee-jae lost another life. Death thought that after such a painful death, Yee-jae would give up his revenge. But when she saw his twisted smile, she realized he let himself die on purpose. The entire studio was filled with cameras, capturing Park Tae-yu's crimes. Yee-jae was determined to make Park Tae-yu pay for what he had done. The sound of a gunshot rang out again. This time, Yee-jae woke up in the body of Detective An, a coward, afraid of death. His father was a police officer who died on duty. Detective An admired him and became a cop too, but his mother fell sick with worry. From that day on, Detective An put his own safety first, no matter what happened. Every time he met a dangerous criminal, he would turn and run. Over time, he became known as a coward among his co-workers. Yee-jae couldn't help but feel pity for this poor man. Suddenly, he heard a commotion nearby. He saw the troublemaker. It was Kim Ji-young, the killer of Cho Tae-sang. It seemed Park Tae-yu never paid him as promised. Using Detective An's skills, Yee-jae quickly took Kim Ji-young down. A bystander recorded the fight and posted it online. People praised this unknown hero. His co-workers at the police station were left in shock after seeing the news. Yee-jae didn't have time to explain. He rushed into Jung Yu-cheol's art studio with Detective Wu and took all the evidence. Soon the police arrived and confirmed Jung Yu-cheol's crimes after investigating the scene. In addition, Jung Yu-cheol had a habit of recording his murders, and there was evidence of Park Tae-yu's crime on the videos. Yee-jae copied the videos to a USB drive, then quietly deleted the originals. Outside the room, Detective Wu watched Yee-jae's actions with confusion. At the same time, Park Tae-yu was still savoring the joy of the game. He looked up and saw his secretary, then said he wanted to take her somewhere nice. They too arrived near the art studio, but saw police cars surrounding the area. Yee-jae stopped Park Tae-yu's car and warned him not to go near the crime scene. He also hinted to the secretary to beware of seemingly normal people who might be killers. These words made Park Tae-yu uneasy. He guessed that Yee-jae might know his secret and planned to get rid of him. But Yee-jae acted first. He handed all the evidence of Park Tae-yu's crimes to a reporter. Later, Detective Wu asked why Yee-jae had deleted the videos. Yee-jae decided to trust his young partner and revealed that Park Tae-yu had killed Jung Yu-cheol. But Park Tae-yu had strong connections. If the videos were sent to the police, they would be destroyed. Yee-jae swore to make Park Tae-yu pay for his crimes. Just then, he saw his mother appear at the station. Detective Wu told him that the poor woman was being investigated. Earlier, Yee-jae went home as Jang Geon-woo and gave her a large sum of money. right after the police confirmed Jang Geonu's identity through surveillance. He died in a car crash. Yee-jae didn't expect his actions would put his mother in a difficult spot. He felt very guilty. As they passed each other, Yee-jae couldn't help but call her mom. Then he quickly said it was a mistake. But his mother didn't mind. She hadn't heard someone call her that in a long time. Yee-jae asked why she gave the money to the police. She said it felt like a punishment from the heavens, as though it had come at the cost of her son's life. So she didn't want it. With tears in his eyes, Yee-jae watched her leave. He secretly left food at her door and reminded her to eat on time. Just as he was about to go, a fierce man appeared and stabbed at him. This man was a henchman of the gangster boss. It turned out that Park Tae-woo was involved with the mafia. Park Tae-woo thought all the trouble was over, until he heard Yee-jae's voice on the phone. Although Detective An looked weak, he was actually skilled in fighting. Thanks to him, Yee-jae dodged the deadly attack. Park Tae-woo realized Yee-jae was not an ordinary man. Earlier, he had learned from the TV station chief that Yee-jae had given evidence of Jong Yu-cheol's death to a reporter. So, Park Tae-woo changed tactics, trying to bribe Yee-jae with money. Yee-jae refused. Even if he lost everything, he was determined to make Park Tae-woo pay. But Park Tae-woo was a complete madman. He openly admitted to killing Jong Yu-cheol in front of the media. However, he claimed Jong Yu-cheol had kidnapped him to the studio, and he had to fight back in self-defense. On top of that, the video Yee-jae had provided was maliciously edited. Due to lack of solid evidence, and with Jong Yu-cheol missing, Park Tae-woo used public opinion to clear his name. Soon, many citizens and politicians stood up for Park Tae-woo, demanding justice for him. In the end, Park Tae-woo was released without charges, while Yee-jae was accused of faking evidence and punished by his superiors. Tempted by the generous bribe from Park Tae-woo, the colleagues betrayed Yee-jae and kidnapped him to an abandoned factory. Just as Park Tae-woo boarded a private jet to the US, he received this good news. After taking his pills, he fell asleep peacefully. But mid-flight, the plane suddenly hit violent turbulence. Park Tae-woo woke up in panic and discovered that the engine was on fire. Then, a voice over the speaker began playing the names of the people Park Tae-woo had killed. Everything finally connected. At the start, Park Tae-woo hired Lee Joo-hoon to kill his own brother and stage it as an accident. So, Lee Joo-hoon planted explosives on the airplane engine, causing Park Jin-tae to die in a crash. Afterwards, the public questioned the cause of the crash. To distract the media, Park Tae-woo contacted Song Jae-seop and offered him 3 billion won to jump out of a plane without a parachute. Later, Park Tae-woo hit and killed an innocent girl by accident, then made Cho Tae-sang take the blame. As his drug addiction worsened, his urge to kill grew stronger, eventually causing the deaths of Jang Geon-woo and Jisoo in a car crash. In the final 30 seconds, Park Tae-woo followed the voice's instructions, found a parachute, and jumped from the plane. But the moment he landed, he was hit by a speeding car, and the driver was none other than Yee-jae. It turned out everything had been Yee-jae's plan all along. He had already seen through Park Tae-woo's scheme. With the help of Detective Woo, they took down the corrupt cop and fed Park Tae-woo false information. Using Lee Joo-hoon's memories, Yee-jae found proof that Park Tae-woo had hired people to commit murders. Then, using Park Jin-tae's memories, he secretly swapped the drugs in Park Tae-woo's pen with sleeping pills. Once Park Tae-woo fell asleep, Yee-jae used Lee Joo-hoon's method to install bombs on the plane. When everything was ready, he used Song Jae-seop's skill to parachute from high altitude. He then drove to the landing site as Cho Tae-sang and ran over Park Tae-woo. At the same time, the news exposed all the crimes Park Tae-woo had committed over the years. Finally, Yee-jae appeared as Jang Geon-woo, wearing gloves to take revenge for Jisoo. In that moment, he no longer cared about the rules death had set. He just wanted to drag this devil into hell. Suddenly, Jisoo's pen fell to the ground. She had once said she hoped his story would have a happy ending. Tears rolled down Yee-jae's face, and he chose to spare Park Tae-woo. However, Park Tae-woo tried to attack him again. Suddenly, a strong wind blew in. and he was hit by a speeding truck. Not long after, high-ranking politicians who had covered up Park Tae-woo's crimes were arrested. Park Tae-woo's father stepped down as chairman of Taekang Group and handed the company over to a professional manager. Park Tae-woo, after a car crash, lost both legs and became a half-vegetative state. Yee-jae visited the lawyer in prison and brought the memory card. It was the only evidence that could prove the lawyer's innocence. The lawyer was overjoyed and thanked him again and again. But Yee-jae destroyed the card right in front of him, crushing his last hope. Evil guys must pay for what they had done. Yee-jae stood before Jisoo's memorial and returned the pen to her. He knew it was Jisoo who stopped him from making an irreversible mistake that day. Now, he would live the good life she once hoped for him. In the days that followed, Yee-jae continued to fight evil under Detective An's identity. During one mission, he thought his end had come. Fortunately, Detective Woo arrived just in time to subdue the criminal, but he was injured in the process. In the hospital, Yee-jae found out Woo was married and had a sweet little daughter. Yee-jae's heart softened. He promised the girl he would protect her father. The girl smiled and nodded. She gently put a bandage on Yee-jae's wound and said that he should stop getting hurt as well. Her simple words warmed his heart. Looking at the warm family, he wondered if he hadn't died. He might have had a happy family like that too. But life has no what if, and death came again. In another mission to protect Detective Woo, Yee-jae fell off a building with a drug dealer. He returned to the dark dimension once more. Death laughed, saying he seemed to be proud of himself. Then she gazed into Yee-jae's eyes and asked a strange question. "Who are you?" Yee-jae was confused, but a new rebirth was about to begin. This time he became a beggar who smelled terrible. Not far away, a crowd was gathered, talking. Yee-jae went closer and was shocked. Detective An's death had caused a sensation. He was now seen as a true hero. Yee-jae felt comforted, since he had made it all happen. He decided to visit the funeral to say goodbye to his former self. The girl cried hard in front of Detective An's photo. Yee-jae felt sad and wanted to comfort her, but scared her instead. The staff thought he was a homeless man begging for food and asked him to leave. Even Detective Woo didn't recognize him, only gave him a guarded look. Yee-jae realized that even though he gave Detective An a better ending, in the end, that was someone else's life. It had nothing to do with him. Being reborn time and again as different people was all pointless. Just like Jisoo once said, people are happiest when they can truly be themselves. Just then, the beggar's memory orb flew toward him. Yee-jae tried to run away, but slipped and fell by accident, ending his life in an instant. Yee-jae was furious at Death for toying with him and just wanted to end the game as quickly as possible. Death warned him what lied waiting for him at the end was pain beyond his wildest imagination. But Yee-jae didn't care. This time, he was reborn as an ordinary office worker. The man had a stable job and a happy family. Everything Yee-jae had longed for before he died. But in middle age, the man was laid off, and his wife filed for divorce. Abandoned by the world, he desperately longed for death. Feeling his despair, Yee-jae rushed into the street without hesitation, only to be hit by a car. But what he saw next left him in deeper despair. The horrified bystander nearby was none other than his past self, Yee-jae from 7 years ago. It turned out that the real cause of the accident wasn't Park Tae-woo. It was Yee-jae himself. If he hadn't tried to end this life so quickly, the accident would never have happened. That very accident became Park Tae-woo's first kill, fully awakening the demon inside him. At the same time, it ruined the younger Yee-jae's future. He missed his chance to work at Taekang Group and fell into a spiral of failure. Yee-jae struggled in pain, wanting to tell his past self of the truth. But it was too late. Death mocked that humans didn't recognize an opportunity even when it was handed to them. Yee-jae was physically and emotionally exhausted, desperate to escape this cycle of repeated deaths. Suddenly, a gunshot rang out, and a familiar setting came into view. Yee-jae was shocked to realize he had possessed his mother's body. When the memory orb appeared, he finally understood how little he truly knew about her. His mother had once been a young girl with dreams. After falling in love, she started a family and had a beautiful son. But happiness was short-lived. Her husband died early, and she lost her job overnight. To support her son, she worked odd jobs day and night. The mother walked through a much darker and deeper tunnel than Yee-jae had ever walked. Yet she never gave up. On the night Yee-jae lost hope, she kept calling him from the hospital, only to receive the devastating news. Seeing Yee-jae's cold, lifeless body, she broke down in tears, blaming herself. She believed that if he'd had a wiser mother, the tragedy might never have happened. From that day on, others saw her as cursed, but she never defended herself. She was tormenting herself this way, trying to atone to Yee-jae. At last, Yee-jae understood. His greatest sin was making his mother endure such hellish pain. He had suffered physical pain through over a dozen deaths, but this emotional agony was the only one he truly couldn't bear. So he decided to continue living as his mother, a punishment he chose for himself. At 3:30 a.m., the alarm rang. The subway was filled with parents who were working hard to make a living. Yee-jae felt a bit ashamed, as he couldn't truthfully say he had lived his life with the same effort. After a long day of work, his mother would always visit the memorial, praying that in his next life, Yee-jae would be born into a wealthy family and that he would live to the very end. Yee-jae wanted to apologize to her, telling her that he also wanted to be her son in the next life. But none of his words, nor any of his feeling could reach her. Yee-jae remembered the promise he once made to her, to climb Mount Obong together, a place she used to visit with her husband in their youth. To fulfill her wish, Yee-jae endured hardships and finally reached the top of the mountain. As he watched the beautiful sunset, he felt deeply sorry for not keeping his promise. On the way down, Yee-jae slipped and tumbled down the slope, injuring his ankle. In that moment, a powerful will to live burst forth. He wanted to survive and keep his mother's body alive. Thankfully, Yee-jae woke up in a hospital bed. For the first time, he truly understood his mother's despair and felt deep remorse for his reckless choices. Over the next 32 years, Yee-jae lived quietly, mourning the people he had loved. He came to realize that life in itself was a precious opportunity. The pain that he thought engulfed his whole life was only a small part of it, and that it was okay to fail as long as he kept going. With this new understanding of life, Yee-jae returned to Death's side and offered a heartfelt apology. He begged for a chance to live as himself just once. Death smiled faintly and told Yee-jae that he had won the game. Then, she slipped a bullet into the chamber. If that bullet was fired, Yee-jae would get the chance he asked for. Finally, the gunshot rang out. Yee-jae returned to the rooftop and received a call from his mother, and the suicide note was carried away by the wind.